Hi friends, welcome back. Today we're gonna recreate my first ever crochet project and make it better, hopefully. I started crocheting in January of 2023, and the whole reason that I started crocheting was because I was a book girly and I wanted a crocheted book sleeve. I possessed the audacity to just say, I could probably make that, never having really crocheted before in my life. I do remember crocheting when I was like a child and my mom taught me how, but I think I just made like super long chains. Like I don't think I actually like made a finished project or anything. But let's get into my first ever finished crochet projects. Book sleeves. I have two here because I made them at pretty much the exact same time, but I don't remember which one was first or second. First we have this guy, which has annotation supplies in it, because I have been using these ever since I made them. I just don't really read that much anymore. Okay, well first of all, I never weaved in my ends. That's kind of funny. I just realized this right now. I've been using this for the last, what, 2.5 years? Never noticed. But here's what it looks like. So it's a book sleeve. It's crocheted in one piece, bottom up. And then it has a flap at the top that goes down, and then there's a chain that you like wrap around a bunch of times apparently. Like this. For the first projects I've ever made, honestly not that bad. This is what it's looking like. I mean, it's definitely inconsistent in the tension and stuff, but it's not bad. The issues start happening at the flap. I did not know how to decrease properly. Also, it looks like I used half double crochets for the body of it. And then, or did I? Yeah. Or maybe I did back loop only? And then I did just normal single crochets for the flap part. But as you can see, the edges on this are, they're not great, as is to be expected. And then I just chained off a long chain and I just cut the yarn off, leaving a teeny tiny tail. I can't believe this hasn't fallen apart, honestly. Okay, so that's the first one of the first ones, but hopefully that was the first one, because this one looks better. This red one, it looks a little more even in the tension department. It definitely like is wider at the bottom than at the top, so maybe my tension got tighter or something, or I skipped stitches on accident. Does this one have? Nope. I didn't weave my ends in on this one either. But for this one, I didn't do the decreases. I just did like a square with yarn ends poking out and a chain here as well. And again, how has this not fallen apart? The yarn I used, I remember I bought it from like a Panduro, which is like a craft store. It's not a yarn store, it's a craft store. They have like everything. And this was the cheapest yarn I could find. It's like, freaking windy. It's like this plasticky, squeaky acrylic yarn. It is honestly horrible. And I bought so much of it because I didn't know better, basically. I don't have any left of it because I used it all up. All in all, I don't think this is the worst. I think I realized that the decreases were not looking good, so I just did the square instead. I think that's what happened, but I can't remember. Anyway, I think it's time to redo this and make some book sleeves. I think I'm gonna make several, like different styles, so that we can see what 2.5-ish years of crocheting get ya. So first I'm gonna pick out the yarn. I'm not gonna use acrylic. I will be using some cotton. So let's go to my yarn shelf and see if we can find a good yarn to use. Let's go have a look. Oh, this yarn is like fuzzy. I'm getting fuzzies everywhere. Hate it. Alrighty, not the best lighting, but this is my yarn shelf. This is my overhead filming packing orders setup. Don't mind that. Here's mostly cotton, some chenille and other things. I'm thinking this guy right here. I made a mesh market bag with this, and these are the leftovers. And I'm thinking that should probably be a pretty good amount of yarn, and since it's variegated, it's gonna give it a more interesting look without actually doing anything, because I want to start with making just like a plain book sleeve, pretty much. I managed to find the exact YouTube tutorial that I used on the 30th of January 2023. It is this one, and I will be using it again, just to get an even comparison, you know? Let's do it. This tutorial is kind of just like made to size of whatever book you want to use it for. So I tried to choose a like pretty standard size paperback, and if you're curious, it is One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. Fantastic. I love this book, which is why it's on my shelf, because I only keep books that I really love. So let's get to it, shall we? This is an incredibly easy pattern, and I'm realizing now that on my first one, this is made up of single crochets. So on my first one, I must have done like back loop crochets accidentally because I didn't know where to insert my hook. So that's my guess, which is why it has this sort of like almost stripy look. Ugh, I hate touching it, it's gross. But yeah, we're making good progress. Okay, checking in. It hasn't been that long, but I just finished the first little baby skein of the yarn, and obviously I have more. I'm gonna tie it on, but here's how we're looking. Does it even fit my book? Okay, it does fit. When it's like longer, it'll fit. It's on there. But if you use this pattern, well, I'll hold off until I'm done to see if that's actually the case, but I would say, because at the start you just chain the length of the spine of the book, I would say maybe go like 1 or 2 extra chains just for a little more wiggle room, but we'll hold off on that. That might not be true. It might just be not done yet. I'll tie on my second skein, keep watching my YouTube videos, and see you later, I guess. So I ran out of yarn. Let's hope. It is a pretty snug fit. Let's see. Wait. That's perfect. Damn. Okay. Well, that's great news. Unfortunately, because I ran out of the yarn, I'm not going to be able to make the flap thing. So it's not going to be exactly the same. Oh, kind of like a zigzag going on. Interesting. Because I ran out of yarn, I'm not going to be able to do the flap the same way as, well, hopefully I better than I did on the first one. I think we're just going to call this one done here, I guess. So I'm just going to frog a couple stitches and then do some slip stitches so that the end isn't as obvious. And then I guess this one is done. Wow, that is the perfect amount of yarn. That's insane. Alrighty, let's finish her off and make another one in like a different design. I think that would be fun. And here it is, all done. Ends woven, weaved, whatever. And I think it looks really nice. Though I must admit it's pretty snug. So if you're making the same thing, or if I'm making this again, I would definitely do like 1 or 2 extra chains at the start, just so it's not quite so snug to get on. That might not matter quite as much if the book you're doing is thinner. This one is like, it's not super thick, but it is considerable, I guess. So there's that one. Very happy with how it turned out. And obviously, yeah, I'm gonna say this is a big improvement from the first one I ever made. Alrighty, I had some dinner and a nap, and now we're gonna make another one. I'm gonna go ahead and use this tutorial to make a checkered book sleeve. And I'm gonna be using black and a like mid to dark gray. So these are both Hobby Friends Cotton 88 in the colors 124 and 122. So I think that's gonna be a cute checkered vibe. And I chose these because I have like 3 or so of each, so I should have enough. So let's get started. Hi, I moved to my bed because I am so sleepy. I started and I tried following the pattern, and the pattern uses half double crochets, and it wasn't really looking right, and the gaps between the stitches were too big, and I'm already using a 4mm with a weight 3 yarn. I don't really want to size down my hook, so I decided I'm going to use the method from the pattern, the YouTube video, but I'm gonna just make it up myself. So I've made a gray square, and I did 6 single crochets across and 5 rows, and that's a square, and that's gonna be a square. And that's just how I'm gonna do it instead of the way that the video does it. But I'm still gonna use the same method for like the construction of it from the video. Alright, I found a different book. This one is a little bit thinner. This is the Wisteria Society of Lady Scoundrels by India Holton, another really good book. Anyway, here is what I ended up doing for the spine. So I have 7 squares, and it's like a teeny tiny bit bigger than the spine itself, but I think it's going to be fine. And now we're going to go around the whole thing and build up this way, like this, and we're going to build up this way. I'm liking the color combo. If this turns out well, I definitely want to do something with a much lighter color scheme, but I like it. Looks nice. Oof. It's giving Will from Stranger Things. Yikes. Here's the progress. It is slow going, but I'm getting there. So I basically have the 1 row of squares on the bottom and 1 full row of squares around the sides. I'm definitely not going to finish this today because it's taking a long time. And also I'm using a 4mm hook, which is fine, but I'm trying to make my stitches pretty tight so that you can't see the yarn getting carried through. And also because it's a book sleeve, so it's nice that you can't just like see the book cover straight through. So it's taking a while, and also it is, since I'm doing it so tightly, it's kind of hurting my hands. Like, it doesn't hurt, but they're getting like tired, you know? So let's check out the progress on the book itself, and then we can wrap it up for the day. Okay, so first of all, that's not a lot of progress. That sucks. Second of all, it is way too big, just as I feared. So if I were to make this again, I would just take off this final square at the end here when I made the spine section, and then it would probably fit pretty well. But I guess I can try to find a taller book, like a hardcover maybe. It's gonna fit something, so that's fine. I guess it's better that it's too big than too small, because it's harder to find smaller books, or shorter books than this. So that's where we are at. I'm gonna keep working on this periodically, and I'll catch you up when I've made some more progress, and we'll go from there. Hey friends, it's been at least a full day. It took a while to finish that checkered book sleeve. The lighting is atrocious, but I did finish it, and here it is. I looked in my little jar of random buttons, but I didn't have any buttons that were big enough. So I ended up just doing a little chain and then I slip stitched back down just to tie it together. All in all, I think it turned out pretty good. The only thing is that, first of all, it kind of hurt my hands because I was trying to crochet pretty tight. And also, it really wants to like skew. So instead of this going straight down the spine, it kind of wraps around. And it really wants to do that. And I'm guessing that's because I didn't turn my rows, probably. I just sort of like smush it a little and then tie it and then it's fine. I ended up doing not only a hardback book in here, but a thicker one because it ended up kind of big. But yeah, all in all, I think this turned out really good. I don't want to make another one anytime soon. And now the last book sleeve we're gonna make for this video is going to be a granny square one, where you basically just make a big old granny square and then you sew it together into a pocket shape and you close it up and it's a book sleeve. So my partner actually chose out this yarn, which is Hobby Friends Cotton 84 in the color 91. I think it's called Aqua. Now, I obviously don't have a ton of this, so I'm hoping I have enough. I'm going to pair it with some white. This is also Friends Cotton 84 in 01, just white. The white one I do have more of, so I did grab just an extra one of those, but I don't have any more of this. So I'm hoping I can use it up, but also have enough. So I'm just gonna make a granny square and then fold it together and boom, you have a book sleeve. So yeah, I'll just get started on that. I'm gonna use a 3mm hook since this is an 8/4 yarn. This is a 1 weight. I've been using 3 weight up until now, but I think for the granny square not to become too bulky, I think using a 1 weight is a good idea. Also, less risk of it hurting my hands, probably. So let's make. Alrighty, here's an update. I ran out of my first little bit of white. Here's how it's looking. That's the back. I really like these colors together. I think there's a nice contrast and it looks nice. Obviously, we are not done yet because it will be folded up like so. And you need to fit a book in there and you cannot fit a book in there right now. So we definitely have a ways to go, but it's looking really nice. I like it. So I'm gonna tie on my new white. This is what the blue is looking like. I think we can get pretty far. I think worst case, maybe it can turn into like a Kindle case or something. We'll see. I'll see how far I can get with this amount of blue. Alrighty, I have had dinner and a trip to the gym, but I did end up finishing the book sleeve, but I ran out of yarn, so it's a Kindle sleeve. How nice. I haven't used my Kindle in a long time, as you can see, but I think this turned out pretty good. I am gonna buy a button, I think, that I can attach down here to finish it off completely. But other than that, it's done, and I'm really happy that I managed to use like pretty much exactly the rest of this blue yarn. I had like less than a gram left, so I just threw that in with my scraps. But yeah, here she is. I went in and I just sewed these edges together with some white yarn. Just maybe the stitch is called something, I don't know. I just threw them together really. And then I did one more round of blue, just a single crochet since the double didn't go all the way around. I just did some single crochets around the opening. I did a couple decreases here since it goes down in a point. And I think it ended up really cute. And this can definitely be used for other things, like this construction method. Obviously you can make it bigger and make it a book sleeve, but it can also be just a little pouch, you know? So yeah, I'm really happy with it. I'm really happy I got to try out this method. I'm also happy I got to use up this blue yarn that I've had lying around for a long time. And it was really fun. I do love a granny stitch. This also has like countless color variation options as well. The only thing I would maybe change is that I sewed this edge here together with white, but it may have looked better if I like did a blue slip stitch, because it's very white on white at this specific seam, but it's not a big deal. And it ended up being the perfect size for at least my specific Kindle that I never use. But you know, there's some give in this, so it can definitely fit something that's a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller. So with all that said, let's do a roundup, shall we? So to remind you, this is what my first ever crochet project looked like, with horrible decreases, uneven tension, unintentional back loop only stitches, no weaving in ends. I did weave in my ends on the new ones, and a horrible yarn, and just a not very pretty closure, I guess. And this one as well is basically the exact same, but a tiny bit better. My tension is a little more even on this one. Yeah, I didn't do decreases, so the decreases look better. Still didn't weave in my ends, still horrible yarn, still a very unattractive closure. But then we made new ones. So I didn't actually end up making an exact like copy of the old ones, but hey, that's all right. This is the first one we made. The tension is even, it looks nice, the finishing edge looks way better. All in all, good stuff. The yarn is obviously better because it's cotton, which makes way more sense than plasticky, terrible, cheap acrylic. Let me clarify, acrylic in and of itself is not bad. This specific acrylic is horrible. Then we made the checkered one, which at the point I made the other ones, I could have only dreamed of making something like this, which is cool to think about. Very nice. And lastly, the little Kindle case we just talked about. I want to make more of these in book sizes, and maybe also with some DK weight yarn. But I have a lot of 8/4 or 1 weight lying around. So there you have it. What do you think? Do you think I have improved in 2.5-ish years? Please say yes. I would also like to know which one of the ones I made in this video is your favorite. And also, leave in the comments what was your first crochet project. I would love to know. With that, I would like to thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And I will see you next time. Bye!